Hello, Jeffrey Vandergoot. Thank you so much for backing us on Patreon. If you're not Jeffrey Vandergoot and you're wondering, hey, what's this about? We have a Patreon going. You can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us a couple of bucks each month and get some rewards and, be thanked on the shows. Once again, that is patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Every little bit helps, and we appreciate your generosity so, so much.
Some of our landings were desperate adventures. We are now prepared to meet the inevitable counterattacks with power and with confidence.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Jason Killingsworth.
And you're listening to Bonfireside Chat. It is a Cursed Favorite.
And this week we are talking about the Crown of the Old Iron King DLC, the second in the Lost Crowns trilogy, as it were. And as you heard, we are joined once again by Jason Killingsworth, who is now senior writer at Riot Games. Welcome back, Jason.
Thanks, man. It's so good to be back on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, astute listeners will remember Jason from our first episode of the Demon Souls season, and we're super happy to have you back. I think when Dark Souls 2 first came out, I think that you weren't able to play it right away, or something like that. I remember being like, "Hey, Jason, come on back, come on to Papa," and you were like, "No, Gary," and then later you got into it. That's exactly how it went, I think.
It came out sort of right at the same time I was moving back to Dublin and starting the job at Riot, and it was just a whirlwind of stuff going on, and which was a bit torturous because I was watching everybody have the black honeymoon experience of the Souls game kind of without me. So I had to play catch up a little bit later, and didn't have anybody to sort of cry with, but it's all right. It's all about the loneliness and the desolation. So,
well, there are people to cry too.
Yeah,
but
it's actually it's kind of it's very similar to what happens in this area of the game. It's like you showed up and everyone was already gone. You're a regular Bride of Ash.
Yeah, regular Nadalia.
Yeah,
Scary. That was an amazing segue.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually
that's
thought
definitely
that
the moment where you turn and look at camera B.
I was actually gonna back off from it and talk to Jason more. It was a good segue, and then I thought this is too early for this segue. I gotta cool it on that segue jet.
Well, while we're doing notes, what were those voices?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm exceptionally sleepy and a little bit out of it, and
so am I. So this is going to be fun.
It's going to be a punchy episode. And Jason, I presume, is well rested.
Yes, I'm very well rested. I know you're sort of sipping your morning coffee. It's 8:30 in the evening over here. So
they keep us grounded.
Yes, please.
Yes. But we're real happy to have you back, Jason. So super cool.
Thanks, man.
Can you just for anybody who maybe missed that episode or anything, kind of tell us just real briefly what your background is with these games, how you got into them, and the like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just stumbled on Demon Souls just because I had friends talking about it, and I hadn't started working in game journalism at that point. I'd worked as a sort of music and film writer or journalist, and then done a bit of games writing, and had just moved back from the US to Dublin and was looking for work, but was very severely underemployed at that point. So Demon Souls kind of entered into that space and kind of took over my life for a while, and I just got completely engrossed in it. And then I got a job working for Edge Magazine, which was fantastic because I was able to take my Souls obsession and combine it with access to From Software, and and actually interview Miyazaki on I think it was 3 different occasions, and travel to Tokyo and meet the From Software guys a couple different times, and so it was just great to have the love for the series, and then also have an amazing opportunity to actually get kind of into the development and trails of it.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Very happy to have you back.
Yeah.
What did we cover last time, Kole?
Well, last time we plumbed the depths of the sunken kingdom beneath the Black Gulch, and we witnessed the damage that a daughter of Manus could wreak on a kingdom, right? Down there with sin and whatnot. And now we're setting our sights on the Old Iron Kingdom. We have felled their king, and all of a sudden a mystical, magical door appears behind him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it has the same kind of little plaques that the other one does. Mm-hmm. Very similar. Like the wording is a little bit different, but I was kind of expecting, I went through and kind of revisited some of it today to refresh my memory, and was expecting there to be kind of more little lore bits in those things that were a little bit more specific to the area, but did not work out that way, sadly.
So I made sort of a grievous error when I finished playing through the game. It was my second time through, because I played it through for the first time on the 360, and then when I knew the DLC was coming out, I had to play it through again on PC so that I could have my PC profile ready for the DLC. But when I finished the main campaign, it asked if... It basically was asking if I wanted to go to New Game Plus, and I had the DLC downloaded, and I interpreted the phrase, whatever it was, do you want to go on to your next adventure? And I was like, oh man, they made this totally seamless, where you just click this thing and you go straight into the DLC.
Oh no.
And of course it took me right into New Game Plus, and I hadn't played the DLC yet, so I ended up having the joy of playing through all the DLC for the first time on New Game Plus, so it made the hill a little bit steeper, but
and it's already a pretty steep hill.
It is. So yeah, it was my experience in the DLC definitely was punishing.
I love how the phrasing for that is begin journey to Drang Lake 2, and it's the numeral 2. It has this weird break in the kind of style of the writing to throw in that kind of explicit sequel in that thing, as opposed to it being, like traverse a second time into the adventures of old, or something like that you might expect.
Yes. Begin the cycle anew would be the right way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have like a little trademark symbol kind of after the two.
After cycle. Yeah, and after 2.
Getting a little bit explicit.
I do like when you're talking about it being seamless, though. I do like the how the DLCs are not hidden behind esoteric nonsense in this game. Like, I appreciate how you get to the DLC in the first game, but it would have been very hard for me to stumble across, and I would have been irritated if I had bought it and didn't have a kind of a way of getting it. I like how these just kind of, since you are going to these themed areas based on these different kingdoms, I like how direct it is.
Yeah. And specifically, if you know what the titles of these pieces of DLC are, you know exactly where to go.
Yeah.
This is the Old Iron King. Oh, you mean that Balrog I defeated?
Yeah, the regular Iron King?
Yeah.
So you head back under the Old Iron King, and you end up in a room past the Primal Bonfire, and go through one of these snake obelisks, and go up an elevator, and it has this kind of sense of anticipation as you rise this elevator, and then you crest the top of this elevator and actually see the area, and it's super striking.
Yeah.
Like this, it has that, like, it's awesome because it initially looks kind of snowy, and multiple times during the adventure I had to remind myself, like, oh, these used to be people. This isn't snow. These are disintegrated humans that I'm rolling around in and making snow people out of and stuff.
Snow angels.
Yeah, making regular angels out of snow angels. Yeah.
Making people angels.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably my favorite view in the game.
When you first get up and you see the like the chain.
Yeah,
and
you're looking at the chain that kind of like spreads out to this ruined, burned out hulk of a tower, and there's an expanse that makes Mordor look like a fucking Caribbean paradise, right?
Yeah.
Like
take that, Mordor.
No, I'm Gary. I'm using comparison.
I know you love Mordor.
But yeah, this sets a kind of a crazy tone, because I don't know, like you see this tower and you think, yes, I'm going to go there, but there's nothing else around it. Like you're looking at the entirety of the DLC from this point.
Yeah. Yep. And you can just go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing to kind of see it for that moment from the outside, just in its kind of monolithic, totality, and before you start kind of getting funneled down the center of that gruesome cylinder. I do love that brief moment of being removed from it before you're kind of like going right down the gullet.
Yeah, before you spend the next 5 hours like plumbing its guts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other like really nice, like I like how this puts the mechanical oddities of the DLC kind of right up front and narratively well as well. So like right in front of this chain, you start seeing these dead, Drang-like soldiers up these stairs on the way, and they're outside of this ashen idol here, which has a glowing thing in it. So of course you're going to take it, but like it looks really interesting, and like the design of these ashen idols I really really like. They're really unsettling. And then you pull this smelter wedge out of it, and it kind of like that's going to be the theming for this DLC, and ultimately for this queen. Like I said the last time, how disappointed I would be if like every queen was just Nashandra with a different element. Kind of attached to it. Like this is fire Nashandra because we fought poison Nashandra last time, and I'm really glad they did something different with it.
Yeah, yeah. Like this is Ash Nashandra, whereas you fought Meat Nashandra, right?
Exactly. Well, it's Ash Nashandra, but it's not just like she's not just shooting ashes at you.
Yeah, I guess that's what.
And summoning Ash,
just kicking ash into your eyes. And
make a man out of you.
Ashing a cigarette into your mouth.
Make a manus out of Mac.
Yeah. And you may be thinking when you find her soul, that's pretty weird. Normally I get souls at the end of these. I wonder when I'm going to fight this lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is that Chekhov gun on the wall, isn't it? Like, sort of the soul you find in the first act, you're going to end up getting shit on by it in the third act or something.
If you show a soul on the wall. Yeah.
I found that interesting.
And then that chain, which we mentioned, which is a real iconic, like running up that chain into the tower is super cool. And you reach another ashen idol, but this one is active.
Yeah.
And whispers to you. And shoots fires.
Whispers to you, and notably is placed right in the middle of a blasted and ruined throne room. Right?
Yeah.
And subverting most like video game level design, you're not traveling up this tower. You're starting at the zenith and you're going down.
Yeah.
Right. Wasn't every Castlevania sort of watchtower clockwork kind of level all about sort of climbing up to that final room in the very top of the tower, and this one you're just, it's almost like a snowboarder being like hella lifted to the top of the mountain and then just dropped on top, and and then they just sort of say the last rites over you.
It took me a moment to parse out. Like when you said hella lifted, that you meant by a helicopter. I was thinking of it like HELLA.
Me too.
Like a snowboard got hella lifted to the top.
Oh, like, snap, dog.
It seems odd for Jason's diction. Like surprised by that.
Hella lifted to the tippy top of that tower.
Shit, dog. This is like the Chosen Monarch's downhill jam, though, because you are just like literally starting at the top and just doing cool tricks down until you get to the bottom.
Yep.
Like it is a vertical slice.
You used the in the sort of chatting before we went on the air, I think both of you used the term hella about like 2 or 3 times
Yep.
to talk about how excited you were about your coffee you were pouring, which was like hella tasty, and Kole and sort of
Yeah.
My grandma's hella sick.
Yeah, your hella family emergency that you had.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why this episode's going to be hella mildly late.
Let's keep this going, guys.
It's interesting. Can either of you guys make out what she whispers to you? Because I had to go online and look it up.
No, I saw on her character, like there, for her sheet on the wiki, there is dialogue listed, but I didn't see anything.
It's not on there. Vadi has like translated it, and so it's in one of his videos. He has like subtitles for it, and it's really interesting. Like she is saying, like, "Oh, you've finally made it. Where were you? Why'd you leave me so long? I've been so lonely." And like with what we find out later, it's we find out that she showed up after the Iron King was long gone, and kind of set up this big ash party. But it's kind of hard to understand, like, if she is mistaking you for the Iron King, or she is just like, he thinks that you are going to be a king or the next monarch.
Yeah.
And that's why she's reacting that way to you.
Yeah. I mean, it might even be as simple as, oh, here is a glorious soul. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what these daughters of Manas do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the Iron King soul at this point, or you've at least defeated him.
Right.
So even though you might have turned it into a sword or what have you, like, you have it in one sense or another. Mm-hmm. You either ate it or turned it into something.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of interesting that this isn't the first time either that the game has sort of reappropriated Ash and kind of almost disguised it slightly, because Ash Lake, of course, was like this beautiful white sand beach that was, completely made of ash, and now we have, it being, disguised as kind of this, this snowy, kind of wintry scape. But
yeah,
I always feel like it. There are always these moments in the Souls games of these sort of subtle nods back, and it's, Ash Lake does seem to sort of figure in the homage here.
In a couple of different places. I'm fixated on Ash Lake. Like that is one of the most thematically resonant parts of this for me. This area actually, like to my eye, is most like visually reminiscent of the Kiln of the First Flame, a little bit.
I can see that.
Yeah, except not as monochrome as that, but still, like it gives you the same sense of like burnt out desolation. Like there used to be something here, but there is no longer.
Yeah,
because of the flame.
Yeah. So after she talks to you and you take her out, and she's aggressive at this point too, which is interesting. And there's kind of different effects that these Ashen Idols are going to have. And they haven't, the next one is where they'll really kind of underline that these are going to do different things. Yeah. But if you got that first one soul and then you're getting this one soul, then you can, okay, well, there's more of these. Like this is a collect them all kind of situation.
I love the way these look too. They look like a statue of a woman with these gigantic demonic hands covering the face, like almost as if it's like ashamed, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're awesome.
Yeah, or sort of weeping into its hands, or it's an evocative pose.
So you head down kind of this clockwork. Down into the tower, and nothing is moving. Like this is a mechanical area, and everything is kind of shut down. So which is interesting because eventually, you can surmise that eventually I'm going to turn this stuff on, and be able to get into different areas. Partly because of little shiny items that are just out of reach, and partly just because that's how video games work. But it does kind of telegraph some of the level design that like you will be doubling back on things after you get some of the stuff moving. Yeah,
this effectively is 2 levels: one that is has no fuel, and one that does have fuel.
Yeah, and that's something they're going to take to its logical conclusion in the next DLC.
Jason, when I hadn't thought of this area as a Castlevania clock tower until you said that thing you just said a couple minutes ago.
I almost recall the the chain kind of image being a very iconic. Maybe it's just because I'm sort of thinking of like a chain whip or something, but yeah, it does. It is such a traditional kind of Castlevania motif that I feel like maybe it just kind of owns that image in my mind. In a way, it's sort of, you know, every game that employs the clock tower is sort of by definition, you know, sort of paying homage to some of those designs, you know, from those titles. So
I wonder if in a way this is from kind of leaning into the way that people sometimes describe Dark Souls as like the best 3D Castlevania. There's no way to know. I'm just sort of surmising. I don't know.
Surely not better than Lord of Shadows. Is that a 3D Castlevania game? I don't know. Isn't that the really bad one?
Wait,
with where you are Dracula?
Lord of the Fallen is...
Well,
sorry.
Yeah.
God damn, these titles, man.
Yeah. It's a Lord of the negative thing.
Yeah. No, I believe in Lords of Shadow, you are Dracula and you are fighting Satan. I think the Christian god Satan is the final boss.
Oh boy. I didn't actually play that one, but yeah, I steered clear of most of those.
Yeah. But you're kind of making a couple of leaps of faith here, and you're headed out. And this is like a nice mix of being inside the tower and venturing out into these kind of ash blasted, you know, semi-battlefield outcropping kind of things. And notably, aside from this ashen idol, you haven't encountered a real enemy so far. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to see one until it leaps out behind you. Yeah,
from the ground, right? This first one kind of digs his way up. Mm-hmm. If it's not the first one, it's the second one who does that. And so you're introduced to these Ashen Warriors, who are going to be your principal enemy for most of the DLC. There's not too much, you know. It's a humanoid Dark Souls enemy. They're super aggressive. They do a lot of stamina damage, and yeah.
Thankfully, nowhere near as resilient as the bog standard enemies from Sunken King. At least in my estimation or in my experience, that might be because of their resistances. But I felt like they went down quicker and they offset that with kind of, you know, greater numbers
and ambushes, like numbers and tactics.
Yeah.
Well, they have incredible gap closing ability as well, don't they? Like just they're kind of on top of you before you've even kind of registered their presence. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those huge leaps, and then also really, really long reach.
Yeah.
With their weapon. This is also in this little ash area where you have the little torsos of people sticking out of the ash, which was what signaled to me like, oh, this is definitely, I'm just kind of partying in human remains during this whole DLC, who sometimes contain items. Mm-hmm. So some unlucky soul was carrying around a mundane stone and got burnt to a crisp.
Almost.
I like to think that somewhere in that ash is Donnie's remains from Big Lebowski. just somewhere in there.
Why does everything have to be a fucking travesty with you, man?
I know.
See, it's funny that you read that as you know, cremated human remains dusting all over the place. I read it almost as like a Pompeii kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where this happened so quickly that like these bodies in this battle were preserved in the ash, right?
Well, except they crumble into ash as soon as you touch them.
Well, yeah.
There's no preservation. Like they just melt like a Super Metroid sand. Mm-hmm. Sand creatures.
Yeah. Also, most of the items that you pick up from them are actually just soul drops.
Yeah. So it seems like you can kind of get both, but either way, like it ends up making sense. Mm-hmm. And then later they use these as kind of honey traps.
Yeah.
To murder you with wall enemies. Mm-hmm. So you kind of keep descending, going back into the tower, and you're introduced to the second Ashen Idol, which has a new effect on them, which is again like this is pretty tough. Like I feel like this DLC is kind of about these set piece rooms. Yep. Like it's like almost like a collection of challenge rooms strung together with hallway sections, and this is the first major one. With this Ashen Idol that will bring its warriors back to life. It kind of covers them with this ash. Mm-hmm. And until you can destroy the Ashen Idol, you can't actually take the warriors down for good.
Yeah, and the warriors when they're covered with ash, I believe that they're more powerful.
I can't remember if this one buffs them or if it brings them back to life. I know there are action idols that do both.
Yeah.
Respectively, at least.
I think at least it buffs it. I don't I don't remember there being any resurrection. That could just be me being very bad at keeping track of what enemies I'm fighting, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know there are ones that also regenerate too. So, in full disclosure, I didn't get a chance to play through this DLC in its entirety because the time we're recording this, we're also doing Morrowind for Watch Out Fireballs, which is just a place where you put hours when you don't want them. Like, the game just takes forever.
It's like a root cellar for time.
Yeah, it is just incredible. So I've been really under the gun with that.
Yeah.
And I've gone through some of this DLC again, but I definitely played through it twice, initially, but I haven't played through it since. So my memory's a little bit foggy.
Yeah. Are we correct, Jason?
Are we correct about the Ashen Wars?
Yeah.
Just sound confident. Just hold your clipboard and nod really assertively.
I just nodded. We're good.
Yeah, we'll just anybody who corrects us, we'll just argue them. We'll just use caps until they go away.
I think any good podcast host like purposefully drops like just incorrect sort of misstatements around just as a way of like getting people sort of riled up and commenting. It's just a way of drawing people in.
It's a modern day version of a trap street. Right, you just put that trap street on the map, so it's like copyright. Right, our mistakes are our own.
Yeah. And seatbelts kill more people than they save. So, yeah, as long as I get that out there, I'm happy. Corrections? Email us at Duckfeed.tv/contact. But anyway, this is hard because there are tons of these guys, and you have to get to that Ashen Idol, and you are invincible while plunging that stake into her heart, but it takes a little while for her to wind up. So it can be tricky. Like the way I dealt with most of those areas in this area, this place was to make a little progress and then go hang out on the ladder and heal. Yeah. I'm just gonna nah. Like I'm just gonna crush these stones while I'm on the ladder. Kind of retreating and making little bits of headway each time.
Yeah. At this point, I for some reason was preserving the idols as they were. So I just kind of ran past this and dealt with it much later in the DLC.
That's interesting. Were you doing it because did you think that like keeping them was a thing, or did you just like I don't want to deal with this now?
It was a little bit of both. I saw how few smelter wedges I had, and I saw how quickly those two were kind of in succession. I was like, these might be a resource that I want to preserve, and they're going to be here next time, whether I want them or not. So I'm going to see how I can get past them, and that actually ended up being very valuable. That was a good decision to make.
Yeah, because
it's also interesting just kind of having this kind of puzzle. You feel like you're sort of sticking these kind of like key devices into these things, but you don't really know why you're doing it, and like it takes quite a while to actually kind of pay off. So I think I always find it interesting when games kind of coerce you into doing things that you don't really understand why you're doing it, besides just simple kind of A goes into B kind of. But I like that. It was kind of confusing. It was confusing to me, and I always sort of enjoy that confusion, especially in this series.
It's a real video games thing for me, because when I see like if I'm playing D&D or something and there's like a idol in the middle of the room and I can't damage the enemies in the room, it's like, oh, I have to destroy the idol. Like it's this weird shorthand, this like genre fiction gamey shorthand. Like if there's one special thing, I probably have to destroy that just because it's there. And I didn't have a narrative justification at this point. You're right. Like you're totally right. Like I just like did it because of my, because I knew I was playing a video game. It became this kind of weird meta knowledge.
Yeah. And the game actually, in terms of enemies that resurrect, like it does a nice job of kind of reserving that for enemies that feel like inorganic. Like you have these ashen soldiers, and then like skeletons are like the ones we're really used to in games, sort of reassembling and kind of picking up their head and plunking it on their own shoulders, and
like a jaunty cap.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm going out. Can't forget to put my head on.
Miska lady.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, and these Ash warriors, they're not explicitly hollow, right? Like you never see one chug Estus, so they're a different kind of beast altogether.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As you kind of continue to go further down, you can also, if you take a slightly different route down, and we're not going to get super fiddly with the actual route because it's a lot of, dropping off these things, and just know that the level design kind of doubles back on itself in a lot of really interesting ways. We're going to kind of hit the high points as is the standard for these DLCs, but you also run into a different new enemy, the empty armor set.
Yeah.
Which you can get to here. Which I love the way these things move so much. And you can kind of see that's the idea behind them, is that they are unpredictable in their move set. They're kind of they're flops and kind of everything that they do has this kind of sense of weight to it. Like they're carrying something too big for themselves, and it just kind of falls on you with relief as opposed to force necessarily.
It falls down and breathes the huge sigh of
yeah. When it kind of lays down on its back. To try to hit you.
Yeah.
These things are really great.
It's even difficult to determine what its facing is, because of the way, I don't know, its proportions or just its alignment as it moves around. I ended up kind of losing to them because I couldn't judge the distance or where they were heading.
Yeah, they also have that space closing ability that the other creatures do, and they have a very interesting ranged attack where they make their bow and arrow float into the air above them and kind of attack you from a 45-degree angle from above. That is hard to find, where you are safe to block from it, and you cannot put kind of a wall between you and them because they can get around it. I think these monsters are super interesting. I like these guys a lot.
And the description on their great bow actually reveals a little bit about why they're here and what's actually kind of happening. Saying that this is decorative armor that was just kind of around. The Iron King was a militaristic king, and he had all these yes, I am strong, armor, yes. And once this ash started collecting around here, this black fog starts kind of seizing control and doing a sorcerer's apprentice with them.
Yeah, which is the daughter of Manus has created this ash kind of fog in the area, and that's what broom means.
Yes.
Broom means Mr. Fog. So, pretty neat.
Yeah. You're also introduced to these cask hollows, which for some reason feel like something out of Berserk to me. I just, again, just kind of the grotesque, not only are you a shadow of your former self, but you're consigned to this brutal and pointless and suicidal labor of carrying around, huge casks of explosive liquid.
Yeah, that they cannot put down.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's it's like Sisyphus, but with something sort of less. It's Sisyphus,
Yeah. It's Sisyphus. It's Littlefus. Yeah.
But it does seem like some kind of sort of cursed, kind of fate to be left just ambling around with these things, carrying these gnarly broken down casks.
Yeah. And they explode real good, so you can take out whole yes, they explode real good. And
good explosions in this game.
Yep.
We can always agree on that. The explosions, 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
5 hair razors out of explosion. Wow. Yeah. But if you have
explosions.
hella explosions, guys. But you can take out whole groups of them and whatever happens to be standing by. And also, at some points, fragile walls hiding items. There is a tremendous amount of hidden loot in this DLC.
Yeah. Yeah, these barrel guys are tools as much as they are enemies. They're not explicitly aggressive. They can attack you, and their attack is really goofy. If you can imagine somebody who can't put down a barrel trying to attack you with a barrel, that's the same size. They just kind of try to set it down on you, and it's really adorable and doesn't do very much damage.
Gary, when your only tool is a barrel, every problem looks like a keg delivery.
Yeah, this is a big stretch. I kind of liked it.
Is this Kappa Kappa Dark?
And I love how goofy these idiots are. I just want to put baby elephant walk music under them.
Yeah, they look super derpy, don't they?
Yeah, they're fantastic in that respect. We're also introduced around here, kind of coincidentally, to these bowls that breathe fire, which we've actually seen these before in the Iron Keep. But these are going to be another tool and obstacle that you're going to get around.
And I love I love kind of the distinction that's drawn here, because we've seen a lot of this kingdom, right, from the cops all the way into here. You know, the cops being recreational. The keep very much is like a military fortification, right? At least the part of it that we see that isn't submerged. Like, this is manufacturing. Like, this is resource extraction and repurposing, right?
Yeah, which fits into the ultimate story of this area and the story of the Iron King that we find out through the DLC. Is that, you know, when he did get this item that allowed him to shape iron, this is where he did it, and we see evidence of this kind of in awesome ways later on. Yeah. So.
There's this room, the big challenge room with the other Ashen Idol, I think, that provides healing.
Yes.
Yeah, and also the introduce the first Iron Warrior that you see.
Yeah, so this is a little bit further down. It's going to sound like we're skipping stuff, but again, we're just skipping like optional items and going to a bonfire. But everyone knows this. This is that area where there are a couple of barrel holding idiots next to some trap doors, and then down on the floor below, there's just a whole lot of shit for you to fight at once.
Did you have trouble with this on New Game Plus, Jason?
Yeah. It took me a little while to kind of figure out how to use our barrel friends to my advantage. But yeah, that big oaf in the room was pain and suffering incarnate. Yeah.
Well, he's suffering from severe shoulder seep. So like that'll do it. Like, if you're filled with lava and you've got some shoulder seep going on, that's going to be a problem. That's what's happening, right? Like, that's what it seems to me, is that like these are sets of armor filled with lava, and when they move in certain ways, it's leaking out of them.
Yeah, he's got a case of the ceaseless discharge.
Yeah, he's got yeah. It'd be
Poor
gross
guy.
if it wasn't so horrible.
But
yeah, and I remember trying to figure out how to herd the barrel guys into the trapdoor, and they're never quite playing along. Like, they kind of sort of amble in this way and that, and you can't really sort of figure out how to get them to go where you want them to go, which is just plunk down into that room.
A weird kind of hack for that I found is that if you lock onto them, they seem to respond to it more. I don't know why that is, but when I locked onto them, I was able to move them in easier ways than if I hadn't. And I don't know if there's something like where they know they are being locked onto. But that's how I was able to hurt
tickle them with your crosshairs.
Yeah.
You just sorry, leading them around with like a magic wand. Yeah, I had no idea that you could intentionally lead them around. I mean, like more so than just the regular kiting, right?
Yeah, they kind of try to stay away from you until they don't.
Right.
Yeah, so the idea here is to push them down into this pit, just to use them to try to clear the room. And more realistically, what I did most of the time was able to kill, one or two of the warriors, but there'd still be an archer and the Ashen Idol and the giant, stone warrior.
Yeah.
Or armored lava character.
You can you can get around into where that archer is as well and make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, well, there's two ranged fighters. There's a guy up top who throws firebombs, and there's an archer in the corner.
Yeah, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I took the coward's way out, and I killed as many as I could by luring them up to the trap door and hitting them with ranged stuff. And once the herd was thinned properly, I took a gamble on running for the door. Actually, and opening that up, because without using the cask guys, because I didn't know you could herd them, I was just getting slaughtered. I just needed more room to maneuver, and that front door just acts as a choke point. So my ultimate goal was to, at all costs, get that open, so I could actually have a chance in a head-on fight, right?
Yeah. And when you're fighting one of those suits of armor head on, their shoulders leaking this lava. Like we talked about it, but mechanically it's really interesting because what it does. We ran into those turtle knights before that punish you for fishing for backstabs by falling on you. And these guys kind of punish you for trying to circle around them.
Yeah.
So when you try to strafe around to get a side angle on these guys, lava spills out of them when they do these attacks. So they're really tricky to fight.
Yeah.
Like between this and the empty armor guys, like this DLC has a lot of enemies that specifically vary up their move sets and their hazard zones in response to what the game designers know you're going to try, approach them with.
Yeah. If you need further evidence that it is ridiculously intentional what they're doing, the lava mostly leaks out of its offhand shoulder. So if you are circling, if you're circling toward the offhand, it's left. That's where it's going to get you. Like they know what your behavior is. They're anticipating it and trying to head it off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
super neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this I have no idea what purpose any of this architecture serves, but you're kind of headed out into this balcony area where you're going to encounter kind of the remainder of the D&D party, right? These sorceress priest kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and these guys have good drops. Like I don't farm for equipment in games, but I was looking up stuff about them, and they actually have a really cool dagger that if you hold it in your offhand, if you sacrifice a shield, it increases the power of your spells in your main hand by a fairly significant amount.
Yeah,
that I never got a chance to get, but apparently that's a pretty desirable piece of weaponry.
Yeah, it's similar to the Chris Blade from Dark Souls 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or is the Chris Blade in Demon Souls, or isn't the Chris Blade in Demon Souls?
There is a similar blade in both games.
Okay.
Did you feel like this area really favored sort of people who played a ranged style? I know Vadi mentioned in one of his videos that he kind of had this sense is like sort of teasing you into the kind of the long range sort of just poke spam. But
yeah, like the Shrine of Amana style Call of Duty cover shooter. Dark Souls.
Sorcerers, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely did find myself opting for some of the long range sorcery and just kind of taking out, but it made the sorcerer section a bit more tedious. Just kind of working through because they don't do much of. They're not very interesting in terms of their movements. So I found myself just kind of, it felt like a toll bridge or something, like just kind of going through and firing 10 quarters at the first sorcerer and then kind of moving on to the next toll. But
yeah,
probably should just run up and gone for a backstab and sped it up.
I kind of see it either way. Like I dealt with this by kind of luring, trying to get people to follow me back to that area just outside. So it would get everyone except for the sorcerers to hopefully follow me back there and then kind of take them on one-on-one or two-on-one. So I definitely didn't just dive in, but on the first playthrough when I went through this, I was not a ranged character and did okay. The second time when I went through it, trying to refresh my memory today for the show, I was a hexcaster and did kind of do it the way that you're talking about, and it is kind of a snooze, like this specific stretch.
Yeah. These sorcerers have crazy high resistance, hella high, you might even say.
Sure.
And so that is yes, we'll allow it. And that kind of discourages that level of play as well. Being somebody who primarily does play a lot of ranged characters, this area kind of has such a small footprint because it's this vertical tower kind of thing that oftentimes it doesn't give you the line of sight that you need in order to make that viable, right? Either there's a situation specifically like this one where, they are firing on you in ranged, or you're in a situation where they're right on top of you as soon as you see them. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, I kind of saw range combat a little bit de-emphasized in this one as compared to, say, like Sunken King, which was more about like, more moderately sized arenas, I guess.
Yeah, and you would see areas where the level designers would kind of try to counter that strategy with just very, kind of clearly placed kind of walls that would break that kind of really nice angle, that cheap angle, in terms of just getting up on a perch, especially in that room full of enemies, and then just taking everyone out from the ledge.
Yeah. Real-time follow-up. The Crisp Blade is explicitly only in Demon Souls, like that actual item. I can't dig up what the name of the actual item is in Dark Souls, so I can only presume that you are right, Gary, that there is no such thing.
No. Well, great.
Sorry.
Hella correct.
Hella astute.
Yeah, hella discouraging people. Nobody needs to write in about that. We figured it out, guys. But let's talk about when you get past this area, that assassin tower.
I love
kind
this.
of to the left. Well, does Dark Souls bring in their invader AI game?
They got their AI game right.
Yeah. So, and this tower, have you figured this out? Other from a lore perspective, other than just kind of the treasure that's down there, what purpose this serves the Iron King?
It literally could have just been a storeroom. I don't see there's nothing in the way that it looks aside from here's just our shed. It's the shed of Broom Tower. It's broom shed.
It's the broom closet. It seems strange to me. Just because it does have this weird, this spiral staircase that goes deep down and stuff that kind of had this air of having an increased importance. But then there's just, and this item, is interesting that's down here that we'll talk about in a minute. But it didn't seem to tie in very much. But it made sense from a player perspective because it is a fan candy kind of item, but didn't make as much sense from a inside the area perspective to me. So Maldron the assassin, who has a lance and he kind of fucks with you a little bit, but then tries to tempt you down and get you to chase him down into this tower to fight actual enemies, and a Ashen Idol that has mega curse ability. You just start getting cursed like crazy.
Yeah. Had to run out and grab a curse bite ring from Magarold.
Mm-hmm. It's me, Magarold. And it's actually, there's an item later in the DLC.
Eggs.
Yeah, later in the DLC that makes you immune to curse.
Yes.
So I think that's probably no coincidence that's that's relatively near here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so this sorry, I was about to say Magarold. This assassin, Maldron. He makes a break for it at half health. So you think that you've got him on the run, and in actuality, he's running down to where you can use a seed of the arch tree or whatever, and just get him torn apart.
Yeah. Otherwise, you will get torn apart. This was the first time I played through this. I managed to get the Ash Idol and get the treasure, and then died, and then just didn't go back to explore until later because it is there are a lot of enemies down here. But this treasure that you get is the Magnificent Sword.
Yes.
Which is pretty much Artorias' greatsword.
Yeah.
So.
Or more accurately, probably the Abyssal Greatsword. It looks, it looks like the corrupted version of it, which really cool. You're right, fan candy is a wonderful way to put that. That this has kind of survived the ages and been preserved. Really, there's no reason to ask why he has it, other than it is a conquest and a relic and such.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't have it both ways. The people who are very much everything in Dark Souls 2 takes place somewhere in Dark Souls 1, we already have right by the Iron Keep, we have the Sunlight Altar. Mm-hmm. So is this in the parish or is this in the forest where Artorias' grave is? It can't be all areas, and that's what leads me to think that there's not so much credence to that idea that there's a direct 1-to-1 ratio with those things. This seems to directly contradict that if that's the supposition you're going for.
Yeah.
So either both of them can't have that kind of meaning. If that makes sense.
Do you have any thought on that, Jason?
Yeah, that part of the game is it's still a little bit foggy in my recollection. I haven't gotten to play back through that particular section recently. So
yeah.
I think it's foggy for everyone. I haven't heard a convincing argument either way, but it is just it feels up in the air for me as well.
Yeah, it's shocking how, and this is more of a meta point and less about Crown of the Old Iron King, but it's shocking how intensely I held that conviction at the start and how quickly it went away. Like by the end of my first week with the game, it was like, oh, that is not the case. They're doing something that is a little bit more textured, a little bit more vague, and less fan servicey in general, right? And it's bizarre to me to see that still kind of creeping up. I won't take anybody's theory away from them, but just kind of like, wow, that is foggy for me as well, just because that I abandoned that so long ago.
What's interesting is they explicitly support it and then contradict it at many points.
Yeah.
And that will continue in the next episode as well, in ways that like it becomes frustrating, and it's like the enemy placement thing where like the least satisfying answer is that From just did it for no reason, which I never want to think that of anyone, but I definitely don't want to think that of From, who are like the masters of intentionality, but like some of the stuff is just very hard to place, or make a sense.
Yeah.
So. It is one of those things, but it is just one of those things that is a frustration about an otherwise amazing game.
Yeah,
that like doesn't we don't need to go through that.
No,
that
we
white
don't.
knighting thing.
I was going to say let's back
let's
off.
skip through that.
Yeah.
I will say that I thought the DLC areas were the most kind of distinctive feelings, just interesting, kind of evocative, parts of the whole Dark Souls 2 experience for me. It was where I really kind of got, I don't know, like the excitement and the fire kind of just really kind of lit up for me, sort of playing this DLC sections and specifically this one. I just love the feeling of it, from start to finish. Just you said texture, and I think that's the right word for it, because like the machinery and kind of all the mechanical creaks and groans and popping of like boiling lava and steam and all of like it was just the most grimy kind of leave something under your fingernails kind of section of the whole experience for me.
Yeah,
definitely the one that left the biggest imprint.
I went into this worried that it was going to be too much of a reprise of Old Iron Keep, and that ended up not like very much not being the case, like in gameplay or I think in appearance and aesthetic.
Yeah, it's definitely stand on its own. I would agree with you. Like the DLCs are where this game kind of super came alive for me.
Yeah.
Even though I appreciated it before as well.
Yeah.
The Magnificent Sword is strange. I would love to equip it, but I don't know that I could ever make myself attack with my left index finger.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why, other than just the fact that it has Artorias's little front flip thing, but it says, this sword, I don't have the description right in front of me because I don't have a silent keyboard, but like it says something like this sword has more power if you wield it in the left hand.
Yeah. It's a little bit more subtle than that. It says that remarkably, all of the master swordsmen who wielded this in the past wore it on their left hand or used it in their left hand. Yeah. Which says, Artorias wasn't just using his left hand because he was wounded. That was actually his primary sword hand.
Yeah. So you head back into the tower, and there's this kind of like this room with these cask hollows and iron warriors that you work your way through. And again, we are doing shortcuts and kind of making our way back into this central tower. There are lots of ways to branch off from it, but there's a really welcome bonfire.
Yeah.
Here, kind of in the middle, and dead machinery that is stymieing your progress. Like there are elevators and the like, and this is where you first see those. Is this where you first see those giant iron statues hanging from the chains? I love those.
Yeah.
Like that's great. Just for like an evocative image, like that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I really appreciate those.
I mean, it's amazing how like it feels like a factory, but also a torture chamber. Like I found like it almost sort of had this, like the image that you see that looks like an old hag, and then you sort of look at it a different way, and it's like a young kind of debutante, but like depending on sort of the negative space. But I feel like this stage kind of felt that way for me. It felt very, I don't know, like the lava was, people were being like lowered into it or being like tortured, and then in another sense it's just like, no, this is just a factory. We're just forging things. We're just
I mean, the old Iron King was definitely sadistic.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's an element of that is possible, and it could be that was part of, like, these things never got into production, these giant warriors, but we later learned that one of his most trusted friends and everything leaves, and it's not too big of a jump to think that friend leaves because he was planning to do something with these big terrible statues. Like these could be weapons of war. There's an item description, I don't know which one it is, talks about how they were planning to build a giant dragon out of iron as well. Like he had big plans at the point where he got cut down.
Yeah. And it's interesting, to see that this is where he saw fit to put the seat of his power. Right? Like, he had this keep, which, again, military fortification, but he chose to put his throne room, at least the one that we see, in this manufacturing. Like, he wanted to be down in the action, using this power, right?
Yep.
Yeah. This foyer is great, except you see these elevators that are frozen, kind of in a halfway position, and there's a place that calls for this flaming scorching scepter. Right, which is going to be the fuel source that lights up these towers, right? Yeah, and you're headed out to another kind of like a broom shed in order to get this, but you have to pass through a pretty. I like this room, although like Gary, your comparison of this to a bunch of challenge rooms is very apt here. The one where you are kind of going around the edges and opening up the gates for these shortcuts around these cask guys, ultimately trying to lure this Iron Warrior out and getting beyond that. Yeah,
is this the one where he's kind of chasing you a little bit? Like you're in the exterior hallway, like the interior is like a cage kind of thing. Yeah. That is a really a really tough room as well, and it's kind of like a chase scene, which is super cool. Like if you want to fight him in a better area, you can kind of get him to chase you into a more open area, because fighting those guys in a hallway, because since their flanks are made of lava, like, is a bad idea.
Old lava flanks. Yeah. But beyond this, you get to this other tower running across another chain bridge to get to the Scorchers. Yeah. I was a big dummy. I saw these torches and I was like, oh, here's a big torch that has a lot of tar around it. It has a visually distinct design, so it might be a good idea for me to light it and see what happens. This might be a part of a puzzle, right? You absolutely positively don't want to light these torches. So I fell for the trap.
Yeah, the design on these guys is also, like I've said 1,000 times, but yeah, it's just these kind of fat dudes crawling across the ground are super goofy. Yeah, similar to the barrel hollows, and I like how goofy some of the designs are in Dark Souls. So.
Yeah, but when they are not alight, when they are just plain old oily big dudes, they kind of crawl after you and do some small attacks. However, when they're lit up, they are very quick oily big dudes. Nobody loves oily Homer because he will run up to you and explode.
Yeah, he's the it is the Grease Scotsman in the in that episode of The Simpsons. They go from greased Homer to greased Willie. Yeah. The light of a match.
It was that one season 26 episode where everybody was covered in grease. Why is Springfield so greasy? And then Sideshow Bob comes back and he doesn't have a face, and turns out that all the grease is his face.
Apparently the cheese that forms in these fat guys' folds is just so flammable. It's just
so as a man of courage, I've never tried setting myself on fire, but I imagine that I'd be faster and more dangerous if I was. So
I too would run towards the nearest living thing.
yeah, help. That's all they want is for you to stop, drop, and roll them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we ever if we had a deadline to podcast, we could both set ourselves on fire, Cole, and then just podcast faster and more aggressively.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the Screamcast, the Duckfeed.tv for Screamcast.
It's our charity screaming event. Duck scream.
Duck Scream.
I told you I was hardcore.
Yeah. Hella hardcore.
Yeah. Let's talk about Quickblade Rachel. Oh, go ahead.
The
Jason.
thing about a sort of podcast, it's radio, right? So you could just tell people you're on fire and just taking it really well,
Yeah, just do it all through Foley in the background. just cue up the Christmas log DVD and have it playing.
It's like the initial concept for the show, which was going to have bonfire sounds just laid under the entire thing.
Yeah.
That was never the idea.
No, that would have been what a different world we'd live in.
Oh man. But yeah, Quickblade Rachel. She again stepping up the invader AI, enchants her blades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember having a huge problem with Quickblade Rachel.
Nope.
Even with her enchanting her blades, like it's cool that they added that, but she went down pretty quick. Like the ultimate goal of this area, getting past Rachel and the Scorchers and stuff, is to get to this room that is a chapel where the Scorchers are worshiping the scepter, and they will attack you when you first get in there. But at first, they are all kind of facing it, which is a really cool image.
Yeah,
and this is the scepter that allowed the Iron King to shape iron.
Yeah,
meld it.
Yeah, that's true. There aren't that many moments in the game that where you feel like you're kind of stepping into something that's kind of happening on its own and you're a spectator. Like you kind of feel like everything's sort of about you and everyone's kind of coming at you all the time. But it's really nice when all of a sudden you feel like you're just kind of watching the world kind of tick over or sort of just eavesdropping on something that's sort of happening that doesn't involve you. I find that a really nice kind of break from the being the center of attention.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and it's also just like worshiping something that's like an inanimate object like that. Like there is a weird kind of creepy inhumanity to them doing that. Like it almost seems like an instinct. Like they're drawn to it as opposed to being kind of thinking people.
Yeah, because like an animal will be attracted to just like a shiny spoon or something, you know. So there is something almost just sort of, animalistic kind of.
Yeah. I love the kind of the set design of this room too. Kind of that gigantic furnace that it's plugged into. Like this, both the DLCs so far have been incredibly ornate in the way they kind of assemble things. Right. It looks fantastic. And, whereas you would normally think, oh, DLC, this is like post-game and, we're just kind of here putting together something extra for you. This feels very, bespoke in a satisfying way. Yeah. I'm looking at the description for this item as well. Like the Old Iron King, it says he took this from the region of Ven. Like this whole region used to be called Ven. And he was an old guy, like old and feeble, right? But getting this kind of like revitalized him. And I'm wondering if there's like a parallel between this and whatever Vendrick took from the Giants, right?
Oh, sure. So, I mean, they're both have to do with kind of animating an inanimate object, or they could, like, or not necessarily what Vendrick took from the Giants, because we don't know what that is, but Vendrick also, animates the inanimate. Like, there is a parallel between his golems and the Old Iron King being able to manipulate iron. Yeah, and kind of shape it in that way. We didn't mention that this was on the ashes of Ven, but that's also kind of an interesting little bit of lorelet there. So we don't, again, like things are separated chronologically and spatially. The Old Iron King's kingdom, his entire kingdom, is built upon this, and part of him kind of gaining that follower, which is Sir Alan. We'll talk about him later, but he kind of helped build the king up and gave him this power. And it kind of creates this narrative that he went a little bit crazy and started, creating gigantic monsters and torturing undead and stuff. And Alan decided, I'm out of here.
And for
This
those
is not what I signed up for.
For those of you who forgot, just like I did, the Prince of Ven was the one who was betrothed or in love with the Princess of Alkin, and you'll recognize them from the various belfries, right?
Mm-hmm. One of which is in the Iron Keep.
Yep.
Which makes sense. Like if you built the Iron Keep around this belfry, like that, it has that kind of ancient name and ancient lore to it. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Iron King wanted to take it over and could not because of the invaders. Mm-hmm. So he kind of built around it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interesting idea. Like, oh, there's just this entire covenant dedicated to protecting this. They only care about this bell tower, though. I'm going to build this castle around it.
Right.
And just like, don't go in that room.
Because there was no eminent domain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what happens when you get the scepter?
Well, this lets you alter the entire level, at least the main tower. There's a little bit of a fun gag where you're trying to get out, and there's another scorcher on the elevator, but you're kind of headed back to Broom Tower in order to activate this machinery.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, this lets you get to a bunch of different areas, ultimately the lower floors, which is where we're going. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, you can kind of go on a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
In the middle of here and get some interesting items. That curse item which we mentioned, which is this is one of the most hidden doors I think in the game. This illusory wall. Like I did not find this on my own. I saw it on a video later. But it's on an elevator. On your way up the elevator, you kind of have to tap the wall, and then you can hit it on the way down. You get the hollow skin, which is is built to thwart fashion souls. People like it's super useful, but is the ugliest mask in the game.
Yep, it is. It is not actual hollow skin. It is made as mockery of hollow skin, which is kind of brought about again in this more humorous item description than you would see in regular Dark Souls. Finally crafted to perfectly imitate the head of a hollow, only without the abhorrent stench. Whoever created this was surely deeply respectful to those lost to hollowing. So you kind of get the sense of this like aristocracy, and we know how the Iron King treated hollows, right? It's almost like a Dishonored kind of thing where they're partying inside the gates while the entire place is lost to plague, and there's somebody walking around with a plague victim mask.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That you can definitely see that because the Iron King is a bad person. And it's also it's so useful in this specific DLC, but it's just like I can't wear it because I'm too concerned with how my little dude looks. Like I just don't want to have him wearing this gross mask, this Halloween mask, the entire time.
Yeah.
You also get that the Simpleton's ring, which is pretty
ridiculous.
Cool. Like it makes you invisible while rolling, which Lobos let us know on a couple episodes ago that adds to your iframes when you're rolling, which I didn't realize. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like purely a PvP item just to be tricky with that. But pretty goofy and fun.
Yeah, it is roughly analogous to the wooden ring, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that like it makes you invisible while like it is in that it adds your iframes and then has this totally also extra effect.
Yep. Which gives you like this blinking kind of sense to it. I've never fought somebody who used this, but I'd be very excited to try it on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was sad that I got to a point in the game where I had like the optimal ring selection. Like, so I felt like you'd get some of these interesting new rings, and you just didn't have any fingers left to put them on. You were some sort of grotesque 4-fingered man.
Like a Ninja Turtle? He got Ninja Turtle paws.
Exactly.
And it makes me wonder, how did we ever get by with 2 ring slots in Dark Souls 1?
Yeah. You're just walking around like Nixon, just giving the peace sign, sort of all the time.
Yeah, it's D&D rules, I think. Like I think that's a holdover from like only being able to have one magic item active on that slot because they would interfere with each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's an old D&D thing, but even D&D kind of gave that up. Even though I don't think you can have you can't be straight up the Mandarin in DVD with 10 magic rings. Mm-hmm. If only we lived in such a world. One of the biggest things you're going to get here are just a bunch more of these smelter wedges.
Yeah.
There are exactly enough smelter wedges for all of the Ashen Idols, and if you don't have to destroy all the Ashen Idols to complete the DLC, but you do to get Nadalia's soul, her real soul.
Right. Not the fractured pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and just some of these items are just a lot of upgrade materials and such. Importantly, you can kind of go out on this rocky outcropping, and at the very, very end, beyond some iron warriors, is the tower key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is going to let you kind of access even more of these optional areas.
Yeah, is that what brings you into the challenge area?
Yes, that is what takes you into the challenge area. It also takes you into another kind of curse hallway a little bit. And yeah, wait, I think.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The curse hallway, which is that big kind of hallway with the different branching paths, and there's the hidden Ashen idol.
Yep,
that's cursing you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. But the kind of the primary critical path, and I know that we're ignoring some of the offshoots. Like, it doesn't make sense to talk about the prowlers right now because it doesn't make sense to head up there right now. Mm-hmm. But as you head down, you're getting into kind of the dark area, and you're seeing more of these kind of statues, and they're now large weapons hanging, kind of from a darkened ceiling, right? As you're as you're headed down into these kind of the very basement of this tower,
right. Right. Which is, again, I love that visually, and that's why I think makes sense with the possibly why Sir Alon decided to get out of Dodge, because this definitely has that sinister edge that Jason was talking about, where it feels like it is a malicious operation.
I love the bit of slapstick here after you kind of like head out to the little side tower there and start falling through the floors.
Oh yeah. Where each floor is just like there's like claps that you just keep going through. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so if you fall into that trap and you don't just take it very slow and pick off enemies one by one, you do what I did and you fall, taking all of them with you.
Yeah.
To the very bottom floor where there's like 10 different dudes pancaked on top of you, in addition to the Iron Warrior who's already down there. There are lots of times in Dark Souls where you die and you just there's nothing you can do but laugh. But holy shit, I lost it, you guys.
It's amazing. It's got all the structural integrity of an IKEA sort of living room set. It's like crown of the IKEA king,
like the IKEA broom.
Yep.
With an umlaut over the U instead of not. Yeah.
Gary, we've been podcasting together for too long because I was going to make that same joke.
Yeah. I love that bit. And again, like everything, it's not too bad if you take it super slow, but it's trying to, if you rush in, it's like, well, you're in for a penny, in for a pound, because you rushed in and now you're going to rush all the way to the bottom. Yeah. At the bottom, there's kind of this large circular chamber with a boss fog, and it's notable that we haven't run into a boss yet. I feel like this it happened in the last DLC to an extent as well, but the bosses are really kind of stacked at the end of here. And it has notably there are ashen idols around the end of it, and you really want to be able to take these out.
Holy shit, do you?
Yeah, if you can't do that, don't fight this boss yet. Other pro tip: don't summon help.
Nope.
For this boss, that's a huge mistake. A human player might be able to help you, but the two, it's like I think you can get Carhillion. Yep. Carhillion of the Fold here, but any NPC, computer controlled NPC summons you're going to get are just going to make this awful for you. Yeah,
it's Carhillion and also Steelheart Ellie who helped you out in the Alana fight.
Yeah, and she's great. Don't get me wrong, but you don't want her for this fight, which I think has it maybe this might be the hardest Dark Souls 2 fight. It's really it's super I love this fight, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
And this is the Fume Knight.
Any of that difficulty was overwhelmed by how much I fucking love this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a lot of tries, but I felt really good when I did it.
Yeah.
What was your experience with this, Jason? I feel like I'm sorry if we've been talking over you or anything during this.
No, not at all. Because I was playing through a New Game Plus, I actually did summon quite a bit, because I didn't feel like I was. Yeah, in a way, it was humbling. I would at different points, I didn't feel like I was up to the challenge of soloing some of the NG Plus bosses. So I'd kind of bring in help and then try to muddle my way through with sorcery. So yeah, for me, for somebody who'd been kind of a soloing purist, like with the first, Dark Souls, I think I relinquished a little bit of that with the second one, and didn't even if it was a boss that was designed, to be a co-op boss, like, I'd just play by myself. But with this one, I think I was a little bit less of a purist about it. So I just felt like, it's New Game Plus, like I need somebody to help me, burst this person down, and just decided to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Well, to clarify, like I didn't mean that you shouldn't summon because of any kind of honor thing. I found this boss a lot harder when I would summon. Like his resistances went up, and I found it easier because I was by myself. Yeah. I don't know if that's a New Game Plus, if it changes at all, or if you grabbed human players, they might be able to be helpful. But when I summoned Carhillion and Steelheart Ellie after, because I tried to go through it, one-on-one the honor way a bunch of times and was just dying, and then tried summoning the NPCs that came with the game, and they just made it harder. Like they died really quickly, and I did almost no damage to Fume. Mm-hmm. So that's more what I meant. Not that it was like I don't begrudge anyone playing through these games any way that they want to. I don't go in for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I ended up beating Fume Knight with a summon because I kept on bouncing off of him. Like, I got him through all his phases, right? And we should probably describe what he is, because he's a little bit Artorias 2.0. In terms of, he's a swordsman. He starts out with a great sword and kind of like a small sword in his offhand, but after you do enough damage, he sheds the small one, and it goes full on like one-on-one sword duel a little bit. And if you don't take out these idols on the outside, they kind of have the same effect as the warmth pyromancy, and he will be healing at them. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where it's like I completely understand what this fight is about. But I just can't execute on it. So I summoned help, and I forget the name of the person who helped me. But that kind of got me a little bit over the edge. I think what makes it really difficult with an NPC, and this may just be coincidence or confirmation bias, I'm not sure. I think his AI is pegged to attack you if you heal.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah, and
he will aggro on you if you heal over other players.
Yeah. And so kind of the purpose that regular NPC, not invaders, but regular NPC co-op partners serve as a kind of distraction to buy you a little bit of breathing room, actually lures you into this false sense of security where he will come in and just wreck you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in general, like, for this boss and the other, like, really great boss in this DLC, like, it just came down to me just being able to dodge stuff. Like, I couldn't find a lot of opportunities to heal because of that AI thing, but I just needed to get to where I had a minimal need for it. When he gets out when he buffs his greatsword and he does that slow, wide sweep, that took me so long to figure out because it's such a late dodge for that one, and it took me a really long time to figure that out. And then, like, once I got it, I'm like, okay, I can kind of do this now. I could consistently get him down to half just from learning his kind of quick patterns in the first half. And then when he slows down a little bit and the kind of dodge points are not at the same point in the swing that they are earlier on, that's what took me the longest time to kind of figure out. And eventually it became similar to that Artorias fight again, where, like, when I was able to beat Artorias the first time, is like, I almost did it without getting hit. Like, I just knew it. And that's that, like, really, really great Dark Souls feeling. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't quite the same. Like, I didn't do it without getting hit, but it was near that.
I mean, how great does the weapon look, too? It's just got, like, just fumes of, like, oily black smoke kind of, pouring off it. Like the most putrid kind of, dirty fire imaginable. Like, it was great. Yeah. And it just, just tied back in. Like, it was just like a beautiful kind of thematic sort of, circle closer for the, the other parts of the stage.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense with who this guy is too, because unlike some of the other kind of randos that you fight in these games, or they're just kind of new people that are introduced. Like the Iron Crown DLC ties to the main game an awful lot, and we know who this is. This is Raim, who was the formerly the left hand of Vendrick. Was Velstat's kind of brother in arms, and they had a falling out. This is the rebel, and Velstat defeated him, and he ran off. And came here.
Yeah.
And dedicated himself to Nadalia.
Yeah, he came here looking for a father figure, and he fell under the thrall of Nadalia. Kind of corrupted by this black fog, if you see Nadalia as a corrupting force.
Yeah. There's a little line in one of his item things that says that he had the power to get rid of the fog, but decided to embrace it instead. Yeah. So again, there's a little bit of Artorias parallel where, Artorias didn't embrace it; he was kind of embraced by it. But somebody who went to go fight something initially, and then was ended up actually working with it. Really cool Easter egg. If you go into this fight wearing Velstat's helmet, he will immediately buff up. Yep. Like it drives Raim into a rage, and he doesn't give you that kind of that first half. Yeah, like super cool little detail.
I love that.
Yeah,
yeah. And so that's bizarre because, like, with seeing Velstat in the Sunken King and Raim here, these DLCs that's just weird how they're being significant. How they remain significant.
One of them makes way more sense.
Well, yes, it does.
Yeah, Velstat in Sunken King was a little bit frustrating to me.
Yeah.
And I felt it was kind of stretched to figure out like why she was able to do that. This, it's like, there's actually item descriptions that say like, he left there and came here.
And this actually, this solidifies the timeline a little bit, right? Because we know that, after we assemble, Nadalia's soul, we know that she came here long after the Iron King had kind of fallen. So this isn't the Macbeth narrative, right? This isn't the queen, the corrupting queen who causes the kingdom, to fall the same way that we see it happen in, specifically Vendrick's case. Like she's here in almost like a tragic figure. She's like a parasite with no host, right? And so the tower becomes her host.
Exactly. And that's what, when we were talking about in the last episode about kind of like the gender politics of Dark Souls 2 and how there are a lot of stories of vain, evil women manipulating kings, it seems like. And it's like we have Mitha, and then we have Nishandra, and then we have Alana. I think this DLC and the next one kind of shows you these different aspects of Manus and ultimately of humanity that are not quite as kind of grody.
Yeah.
This is, this kind of feeling of isolation. Like when Nadalia talks to you, like she talks about being lonely and talks about, just wanting you to be there. And this kind of like intense, like the parasite without a host is a really good way to put it. Like these daughters of Manus are driven to a king. She got somewhere where that was already gone, and it kind of drove her fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And that's when she started doing this dance that created this dust and broom and kind of, created a lot of the hazards of this formerly dead place, but not out of malice so much as like despair.
Yeah. And when she couldn't find a king, she ultimately settled for a vassal, right?
Yeah. Yep. And it was a symbiotic kind of thing too, because Raim obviously, desired that. Like a lot of the things in this item description, like, I formerly said he was kind of a corrupted force, but that's not really true. Like they say, like he had the power to do it, but chose to do this. Like he found this like strong mother figure. Like there is like a weird sense that it is not like Raim was kind of a shitheel in the first place. Like it's not like a noble hero that's been corrupted. It is more like he's kind of chosen to be this champion. Which again, you also have like kind of shades of Vengarl.
Yeah,
as well in that he's kind of protecting her. And then that moment when you actually defeat him and go into the room afterwards, like just talking about like kind of poses or that are really kind of evocative. Like when you actually find Nadalia sitting on that kind of big pile there, her like that's a really amazing and really arresting image, I think.
Yeah.
And she has the crown, like she got it, but there was nobody there to wear it or anything.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, no kingdom over which to rule.
Yeah.
So,
there's just nothing to do.
So if we're talking about kind of these daughters of Manus being different aspects of humanity, and obviously Alana's wrath, and you could probably say that what's her name, Vendrick lady, Nishandra is kind of like deceit.
or want.
Yeah, I guess want. There we go.
Desire.
Yeah,
like I think that her items all say of want.
Yeah, of want. There we go. Yeah. Then what is Nadalia?
Like a loneliness or
like
isolation,
longing,
or
I guess.
longing or something like that. Like
like just like it is a pretty human thing to want company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not all the terrible things about humanity that Manus kind of farted out.
Yeah.
There's also, and then we'll see that more in the next DLC as well.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad they took that opportunity to add a little bit of shade to that, because I do not like the corrupting queen narrative on its own as a thing. Like that is frustrating to me.
It's like the little fork tongue kind of, king's assistant. It is just, it's a bit too over the plate kind of, fantasy tropey.
Yeah. Grimace Wormtongue, who somehow got that job despite his name. Like, okay. Like we have your applicants are Grimace Wormtongue, Baron Trueheart, and Kale Never Lie. Which one would you choose as your advisor?
Yeah. I have no idea what you're making a reference to. I'm so sorry.
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of the evil advisor in Lord of the Rings, is Grimace Wormtongue.
Well, I just outed myself as somebody who does not know enough about Lord of the Rings.
Get out of here, fake geek podcaster boy.
I know what Mordor is.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just a gamer, Kole.
Yeah.
You said, "See you later, Kole."
Yeah, just a gamer. I said, "See you later, Kole."
Yeah. Man,
your credentials. Question.
That crown is pretty nice too. Restores your spell uses.
Yeah, which is the only source of being able to do that infinitely in the game, which is pretty cool.
I'm going to cut in here for a quick message break. We are coming up on the winter holidays, your Christmases and whatnot. And if you're looking to support the network here with any last-minute gift buying that you might be doing, possibly on Amazon, a great way to do that is to go to Duckfeed.tv/tipjar and use the Amazon links there. We have them for the US, for the UK, and for Canada. If you click that link and go about your business on Amazon, you will get the same Amazon experience. You will not pay a single cent extra, and we will get a kickback from whatever you buy that goes towards things like helping support the network and keeping the lights on and paying for hosting and all of those things. Once again, that is Duckfeed.tv/tipjar. Use those Amazon links, buy your holiday gifts on Amazon, and support the network. Thank you.
There are two other areas to this. So that's all you have to do to get the crown. But there are two other areas, one of which I think is super worth doing.
So
let's talk about the challenger.
Which is some horrible bullshit.
Yeah, the other which is not so great. So we'll talk about that one first, the Iron Passage, which so like every DLC has a co-op challenge area so far, and like in the main game, there's also the Cavern of the Abyss, which is kind of the challenge area for that, even though it's not co-op. But it has this kind of like optional hard area, and this time it's the Iron Passage, where like the Iron King was getting his iron from. And it's a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, you get
long hallways full of bad guys.
Yeah, you get to it from the the elevators below the foyer, and it's neat because you get to see. Oh, it is literally like you couldn't have done this without magic. It is just a passageway of pure iron, but like the Cave of the Dead. It's just meant to be a meat grinder. Yeah.
And like the Cave of the Dead, like the only thing that makes me not absolutely like hate this, like there's two things. One, how terrible the challenge area is in the next DLC. Two, the fact that I just like, how many times can I figure out how to run through this without having to fight these guys every time? Because it's such a pain in the ass. And like you can do it. You can just run through and never fight anything. But there's a really hard boss at the end.
Yep.
That makes it so you have to do that a lot. So it's not great.
Did you even make a dent in this, Jason, in New Game Plus?
I didn't. I got my grubby hands on that crown and was like, ah!
Yeah.
I stuck it on my head and
said, "See you later, boys." Yeah. Well, the next area that we want to talk about, you should really do.
Yep.
Like this one is garbage, but you got to do the memory of the old Iron King.
Yeah.
Because it's really good. But the boss of this area is Smelter Demon again, but he's blue.
Yeah.
He's magic.
This time with a hat.
Yeah, he's berry blue. Flavored. The best thing about this boss is that if he has a different soul, and if you make the great sword out of his first soul and out of this one, then you have blue and red flames coming out of it, and your power stance attack look like amazing, like blue and red electric rainbow fire. Like it looks really cool. And that's the best thing you can do is make a really awesome visual effect.
Is that the only reason to put yourself through this?
There's one other reason.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah. Pharos' mask.
Yep.
Which you get, which is like super like it cry like, so if you wear this you are constantly wet because the mask constantly cries.
Yep.
That's
my
awesome.
God.
Yeah.
Like that is a really cool idea. Like
that sounds like something out of the
like,
Commonplace book, honestly.
Yeah, or just like the like D&D first edition like book of artifacts.
Yep.
Like here's the coin that always bleeds and the mask that always cries, and like it's like that's great. Like what I wouldn't give for a mask that always cries. In fact, I might trade my soul for a mask that always cries.
Hello, Gary.
It's also Binding of Isaac, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Endless tears, projectile tears.
Further complicating the narrative of Pharos, though, not only is this of his own design and presumably of his face, this is the Giant Dad Dash. This is the Mask of the Father. Cue dubstep drop.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Legend will never die. I don't know why it is the Mask of the Father, other than just like fan candy.
Yeah.
Because the Mask of the Father has become such a meme.
Yeah.
Also, like I'm still pretty into this idea that Pharos was the Rotten. So I don't know, like the mask, does it say that he wore it, or does it say it is one of his, like, patterned after one of his contraptions? I can't remember.
It says it's patterned after one of his contraptions. However, it is not. Like, it is patterned after his contraptions insofar as his contraptions also look like a face.
Well, it could be. Maybe. I mean, then you get all kinds of crazy shit. Like he actually created the masks that Pinwheel was making. If that's one of his contraptions, like, is Pinwheel just a Pharos puppet? We're through the fourth wall here, people.
You imagine contraptions. It could be some sort of loose kind of Japanese translation.
Oh, sure.
Just contraption could be just this kind of broader category of loosey goosey with the localization. Who knows?
Yeah, true. For sure. And it just the big thing that I want it to not imply is that this is actually Pharos' face, because I don't want Pharos to die down here. Because there's been no reason for us to. I mean, there's a lot of mechanical things down here that Pharos could have invented, but we don't need them because the Iron King can shape iron with his mind.
Yeah,
like he can make all the weird bull statues and giant soldiers and stuff. Like Pharos doesn't need to be here.
Yeah. All that I can think of is that it implies that Pharos came before the old Iron King, which is incredibly unlikely given how old everything here seems to be. It's in the name, for Christ's sake. And that this is some kind of artifact that, was held here, and in fact is resting at kind of like possibly the deepest point that the Iron King got to before these demons kind of took him over and turned him into what he ultimately turned into.
Yeah. The Balrog.
Yes.
I
know what a Balrog is too.
Yeah, good. I was baiting you with that. I was waiting for you to go.
Yeah, it's from Game of Thrones. Right?
No, I said Balrog earlier in the episode.
I know. I'm just teasing you about your legendary lack of Lord of the Rings knowledge. Yeah. But let's move on to happier times than that. Like, there's not that much to the smelter fight. It's a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah.
And that's real, and that's it. Yeah. It's harder, and there's a more annoying boss run up to it.
Yeah.
But the next bit is badass.
Yeah, you take some elevators up. and use the tower key, and you make your way in there, and there is an invader in front of that. Prowlers.
Yeah, they look like predators.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And then the trick here is that one of them invades, and you go and you see one of them, and you turn up the corner, and there's just a bunch of them.
Yep.
It's a gang of dudes.
Like, again, some moments there, all you can do is laugh. I didn't die, thankfully, because individually they're pretty weak, and it's just a matter of corralling them. But this was almost as funny as Jester Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is awesome. But the big takeaway here is that we know Alon came here when the Iron King was kind of a scrub and helped him build up his kingdom. And we know in the future, in the Iron Keep, or not, the future, or just in general, depending on how much time traveling is happening, that those are Alon knights. Like, he names his knights after them, and they're kind of Easterny and samurai like. Yeah. And such. But we find Alon's armor, and it's glowing like memories, which to me was like even like kind of a holy shit moment. Like, oh, this is a memory that I can go into in one of the DLCs. Like, I was not expecting that. Yeah. And it kind of goes into this other optional challenge area that's significantly more successful, I think. Yeah. It's themed after the Iron Keep. Like, you're not in the tower. Yeah. Yeah. It is this big, and you kind of get this idea that like this is maybe the kingdom at its peak, because things are prettier, and kind of put together a little bit better. It is another kind of challenge run to get up to it. There are more salamanders and Alon knights, and they're covering each other in really difficult ways. Yeah. Like this is a really hard challenge area on its own just to get to the boss. Yeah. Hiding behind pillars and such, like right out of view. They're like little side little side guys. Jason, earlier it kind of sounded like you didn't even make an attempt on this. Did you end up finding this?
No, I didn't find it. I found the you get into it with the set of armor right after the predator kind of looking guys. Like, yes, I got to the armor, and then I couldn't activate the armor. I didn't have the prerequisite stuff done, and didn't have armor 101 completed.
You can go there. All you have to do is defeat Fume Knight, and then it activates.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I tried to do it in the wrong order. Went to the armor, and then once I got the crown, I thought maybe I didn't realize the armor took you into a different area. I thought it gave you the armor as an item or something. So I thought, well, I won't be completely completionist to the extreme. You get that set of armor, and of course realize there's an area behind it. But it's cool because it means there's still juice to wring out. Like, there's still stuff to go back to, and I think that's the way with these games all the time. Is like you kind of think you've like sucked out that last drop, and then you find out there was some illusory wall that like has like some whole new world behind it. So it's probably the experience of every, like, even some of the the hardest core fans are just finding out, oh yeah, there's a whole optional boss here that you never knew existed. Yeah. This area reminded me how difficult the Alon Knights are. Yeah. I felt like when I first came to the Iron Keep.
Yeah, they are super tricky. And I don't want to gloss over how hard this area is. I just want to talk about the boss fight. So, like, you go to here and you fight Sir Alon, the original OG Sir Alon, and this boss fight is maybe my favorite in the game. It's really, really good. He's awesome. Like, he's sitting down when you first come in, and he kind of gives you this nod, and it has this sense of, like, again, a proper duel. Like, we keep comparing everything to that, or eventually that word will lose all meaning. But it does feel like that, and it is in this. It reminds me, it's like a reference to King Alot. Yeah. Like that fight, because he has kind of a similar moveset, and it's in a really beautiful kind of skylit chamber that reminds me of where you fought King Alot.
Exactly. Yeah. The floor is really shiny. I was worried about slipping.
Yeah, yeah. What if after Sir Alon got up and he started, nodded, he immediately just slipped, because that's like it looks like it's gonna happen, but then really
It's like somebody overwaxed the basketball floor.
Yeah,
Shake! Like just squeaky.
Fighting in a bowling lane or something.
You got to get those special shoes. Like after you get through that gauntlet of enemies, there's just like a guy with half a mustache named Carl who sells you a pair of disease shoes to put on. Yeah. But,
yeah. And this is just a straight up sword fight.
Yeah. It's a super cool fight. Like I really like this fight. Like I got really jazzed about it and just felt very good near the end. Similar to Fume Knight, but it's a little bit more like in the fiction. I like that this character respects me.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of showing up and everything. And again, just talking about just knocking out of the park with these Easter eggs. Mm-hmm. If you defeat Sir Alon without taking damage in 5 minutes, he will kill himself. Mm-hmm. He'll commit seppuku.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
which is just, that's just amazing. Like that's just a really cool, like, you did it. Like I am dishonored by your prowess.
And so what's funny, Gary, like earlier when you were talking about how Alon left the kingdom and that like he, after seeing that this was bad news and that kind of ultimately led to the downfall, the way that I read this was, I caused this kingdom to fall because of the way these memories work. I think that those item descriptions are kind of playing into, like, there is a historical writer who doesn't understand that, Alon died at my hands and that the Iron King covered it up. Yeah,
I could see that too. Like, I didn't want to get right all the way into the Alon stuff, like halfway through, because it's important. Like the stuff of him showing up is important, and the idea of him. It also does make sense that he would leave if that was the case, because he is an honorable dude. Like he is a good person. The Iron King is categorically a shitheel. Like why is he associating with this guy? Mm-hmm. Makes sense. But it is if you can actually go back in time and affect memories, like that, which we kind of know from the earlier game that you can, in a way, like that adds a weird, mind-blowing I almost just said timey-wimey again, which we don't say anymore. But like that adds a wrinkle to the chronology of this that is really hard for me to justify. Mm-hmm. Like if you're actually going back in time and changing history constantly, that's a little bit nuts for this. Like if you cause this kingdom to fall for that, like I'm not saying I disagree with it. Mm-hmm. It's just big. Like the implications for it are big.
Yeah,
that's the kind of conversation you have on the top of the water tower, like sort of in Dazed and Confused, sort of after a night of boozing and maybe a few left-handed cigarettes, talking about the nature of time, and it does start to.
Yeah, I saw it as an echo of just the idea of the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, the idea that. You are actually the hero of this, and you mercy killing, Artorias was, kind of part of that. Like the working this into time travel, understanding that diving into memories and being grabbed by Manus back through time are effectively two different things. Yeah.
I could see it in either way. Mm-hmm. With that, like just because it would make sense, like I said, it would make sense for him to take off, but also. You could also be the person who comes back in time and kills him. There's a lore video online about this. I think it's another Vadi one where it is he's talking about it's like his prepare to cry on Sir Alon. Mm-hmm. And he has it being that Sir Alon actually, because you've found the crown at this point, because you have to have defeated the Fume Knight, that similar to like he is mistaking you for King Alon, or the Iron King rather. When you come back here, because you have the item. So I'd have to watch it again. I will put it in the show notes. Mm-hmm. But that has a different kind of take on what's happening too.
Yeah, it's satisfying. Like this is a satisfying level of ambiguity for me. Like thematically, like the idea that there are several different ways in which this can work, is not as frustrating as it otherwise might be.
Yeah. Yep.
I kind of want to go back to our Iron Keep episode and count up how many times we referred to the Iron King as King Alon.
Oh yeah, probably some. Yeah, unfortunately.
You just need, sort of the podcast version of Find Replace. And
the spoils for winning this fight, aside from a really satisfying fight, the joy of winning that is you get the last of Nadalia's soul pieces, and you can assemble that together to make some items if you're a Casterly type. And yeah, that's really just about it.
Yeah,
and also his soul. You can get his sword and stuff.
Yeah, and his sword, its special move is a seppuku move. So
like Yoshimitsu in Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
nice.
Yep. So super cool. I don't. People who are listening to the show, what do you think is happening with this Sauron fight? Because I'm curious. Like I thought I had a good idea of it, but I think that both sides are convincing, and I'm realizing how inarticulate I probably sounded for the last 5 minutes in my sleepy induced haze. So I'd be interested to hear what people think.
Yeah.
But that's it. Next time we are going to do Crown of the Ivory King. We are going to be joined by J. Alexander Briggs of the There You Are podcast to wrap up this Crown trilogy.
Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Jason, thank you again so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some of the latter portions of the DLC is an amazing teaser. Just for to kind of dig into that stuff. But I love this one.
Yeah, it is really, really good. Do we have any other kind of wrap up thoughts on Crown of the Iron King?
I mean, in terms of taking the three together, I mean, how did it sort of stack up in the kind of the hierarchy of the three, for the two of you?
Have you played Ivory King yet, Cole?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. For me, it's my favorite boss fights.
So Gary.
The Fume Knight and Sauron are my favorite boss fights in the DLCs. I think I liked Ivory King a little bit more overall, kind of visually, and then the ending of that was real mind-blowing in a way that I can't quite shake off. I really, really liked the weird lore suppositions and ties that kind of come from that. I don't know if they're necessarily good yet, but they're just really impactful. So I have that, but it's maybe my favorite, if not a very close second. I think Iron King is really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stays with you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I like Iron King more than Sunken King in everything except for level design, actually.
Yeah,
I think that Sunken King, with its kind of doubling back and just kind of it reminded me so much of of older Souls games that it's kind of hard for me not to be very affectionate about it. And in what will sound like a very contradictory kind of way, from a play standpoint, I really like Iron King a lot more. The enemies were more fun to fight. The stuff that it had you doing was just a little bit more interesting. And the bosses definitely were a lot better, specifically because you didn't have that Alana frustration.
The Sin boss fight is very good.
Yeah.
But I like, I'm really broken recording here, really saying it over and over, but I really like a one-on-one fight with a human-sized opponent in these games.
Yeah. So
it's kind of my bread and butter. Yeah, I really loved it. All the DLCs are really great, and I'm very curious and hopeful about the additive content in Scholar of the First Sin, which we'll figure out.
Yeah.
How we'll figure that out somehow.
Talk about fucking curveball, guys.
That's really thrown off our schedule, but that's okay. Jason, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Riot Whiskey. That's WHISKI. And that's where I do my rambling. So
yeah, you should follow Jason. And go back and look online for all of the things that he has written in the past on Edge, because he's a great writer.
Yeah.
So
thanks, guys.
It's true. I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it.
Yeah, it's great to. Again, it's great to be on the show talking about Souls with you guys.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate it. What? So if you have corrections or if you have feedback, you can get in touch with us at Duckfeed.tv/contact. If you have any thoughts about what we said, how else can people get in touch or participate?
Well, we have a very active Facebook group, that facebook.com/bonfiresidechat.
I just did an impromptu caption contest. So that's the kind of wacky stuff that could happen at any time. Just because I found that great picture. I don't know if you've seen that before, Jason, but in Dark Souls 1, somebody captured a video of the Vagrant, like those little kind of crab monsters that are very rare, popping up right on the Archer Bridge in Anne Orlando. And the guy's running up there, and the crab just looks so shit-eating, and there's an arrow coming right from off camera. It is a real perfect image. Just about to hit the guy as he got stopped in his tracks by this very self-satisfied little motherfucker. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. As you're listening to this, there is still time to participate in our Watch Out for Fireballs poll. I know this is cross promotion; it's a different show, but we are doing a poll to determine which action RPG we are playing in January for that show, and that is open to Patreon backers. So you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, become a backer at any level, and have a say.
Yeah, and it's 4 games, and the competition is Fast and Furious, and they're all games that I think the secret to these polls is we just choose 4 games that we want to play, because then we win no matter what.
Yeah,
no matter
who wins, we win.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're the opposite of Aliens and Predators. It's
actually Fast
Predators.
and Furious, the game.
Yeah.
Why does that win every time?
Yeah, who keeps voting in just Vin Diesel as the write-in vote? He's just over and over. Even though if that ended up being play D&D at Vin Diesel's house, that would be my vote too. I would create so many straw men. What is it? Puppet accounts?
Yeah.
To make that happen.
Yeah, no. I would legit love to have Vin Diesel on as a guest on any of our shows. Vin Diesel, this is an open invite.
That would be incredible.
I know, right?
What would that even be? I'm just, I'm really having a hard time imagining it, but I would go for it.
I wonder if we did Chronicles of Riddick for the Xbox as a WoW.
Oh, sure.
And we keep it in the back pocket, and we just hound his publicist forever.
Yeah,
and we don't
lie a lot.
Yep.
No. We're right behind Serial and right before Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah, we're the WTF of video game podcasts.
Yeah, we can guarantee.
We tried to get Vin Diesel for an Edge interview.
Oh yeah,
several times. I just think it would be so fun to. It just would be fun to talk to that dude about games.
Yeah, I mean, I would, and man, it's somehow to express to him that we're cool dudes, and I'm going to talk to him about stuff that he likes. It's not going to be Gary. It's not going to be it's not going to be like a publicist interview. It's we're going to talk about character classes. We're going to talk about polyhedron dice. We're going to talk about all this cool stuff that I know international movie star Vin Diesel wants to talk about with 2 doughy white guys.
Gary, I have to ask you. Only ask him to be your dad once.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning, you can play it off as a joke. You can play it off as a joke if you want. I'm not going to stop you. But
yeah, I just can't keep doing it.
Yep.
Man, I don't know what I would do if Vin Diesel was my dad. Other than change my last name, because that'd be awesome.
Gary Diesel.
That's
the worst. When you're talking to the publicist, just cover up the earpieces. Hey, hand me that protein shake.
Just end every email with, okay, hand me that protein shake, bro. I need to get hella pumped. It's just going to
be torque, Gary Diesel. Yours in torque. Gary Diesel. So if anybody out there listening can make that happen,
yeah, we won't look to get a gift Diesel in the mouth.
Yeah, never. I can't remember where we were going with that, but let's all the admin stuff to do.
Yeah,
write Vin Diesel, call Vin Diesel, tweet at Vin Diesel. Don't actually harass Vin Diesel.
Yeah, please don't.
Please don't. Yeah, but that's probably good.
Yep, I think that's good. Thanks so much, Jason. Umbasa.
Umbasa.
And we all pray that we will have far more soon.
Yeah.
Oh, good, solid close.
That is a good solid close.
Praise the Vin.